What if the cliff you're standing on isn't the end, but the beginning of something greater? Have you ever stood at the edge of life, feeling like you're staring into a vast unknown? Your heart pounding, your thoughts racing, asking, what now? If so, you're not alone. We've all had those moments. Moments when we're caught in between the chapters of our lives, between where we've come from and where we're meant to go with. No clear path in sight. That in-between space can feel heavy. It can feel silent. It can feel like a storm inside a still sky. But here's the one truth that breaks through the fog. God knows exactly what's next for you. You see, life doesn't come with turn-by-turn directions. There's no GPS that shows us every twist and turn. Often, we find ourselves in seasons where the future is hidden behind a curtain, where we can't see what's waiting around the next corner. And that kind of uncertainty can rattle even the strongest heart. It can stop us in our tracks. So, what do? We start planning, predicting, controlling, hoping we can somehow build our own clarity. But let me speak a powerful truth into that worry. You don't have to know everything. You don't need to have all the answers. It's okay, more than okay, to step into the unknown with trembling steps and still believe that God's already gone before you. So many of us spend our energy trying to protect ourselves from what we don't understand. We think, if I can just see what's ahead, I'll feel safe. But we forget one crucial thing. God is never surprised by the unknown. The detours, the delays, the doors we didn't expect to close and own of it catches him off guard. While we're panicking in the silence, he's already preparing the outcome. Let me ask you, how many times has God carried you through a situation that didn't make sense in the moment? But looking back, you whispered, "That was exactly what I needed?" That's the God we serve. A God who guides, not by sight, but by trust. And the best thing we can do in those moments of fog and fear is simple trust that He's already ahead of us, clearing the way. Now listen closely. The unknown is not your enemy. So often, we treat uncertainty like it's a threat to our peace, like it's the thing that stands between us and joy. But what if the very place we fear is actually the sacred space where God does His greatest work? We're wired to crave control, to crave answers, to crave a plan. But God doesn't need your map, He needs your faith. He doesn't ask you to see the whole journey, He simply asks you to take the next step. Just one step. Even if the next moment feels blurry, even if you can't see the smile behind the sorrow, because it's in those hidden places, in the tension of not knowing, that faith is refined. It's where our character is forged. It's where God proves that He is a new Faven when we are not. So today, if you're standing at the edge, wondering what comes next, take a breath. Not knowing is not the problem, not trusting is. Do you remember the story of Abraham? Imagine this. God tells you to leave your country, your family, your comfort zone, everything you've ever known, and step into a place you've never seen. No address, no map, no timeline. Just a direction. Go. That was Abraham's reality. The uncertainty must have echoed in his heart with every step he took. He wasn't given details. He wasn't handed a plan. But he had something far more powerful than certainty. He had trust. Abraham walked forward, not because he knew what the journey held, but because he knew the one who held the journey. And God did not disappoint. What began as a command to walk blindly into the unknown became a divine invitation into God's promise. The wilderness wasn't the end, it was the beginning. Every uncertain step Abraham took became a stepping stone to destiny. So today, I want to tell you, don't fear the uncertainty. Don't run from it. Embrace it. Because in that quiet space where you whisper, "I don't know," God is whispering back, "I do." And it's in those vulnerable, unclear moments that He often reveals Himself most powerfully. His presence meets you in the fog, and that presence can transform everything. You might be sitting here now, feeling like your life is one big puzzle alone with too many missing pieces. The image isn't clear, the path doesn't make sense, and it's hard not knowing how it all fits together. We're wired to crave control, to crave answers, to crave a plan. But God doesn't need your map, He needs your faith. He doesn't ask you to see the whole journey, He simply asks you to take the next step. Just one step. Even if the next moment feels blurry, even if you can't see the smile behind the sorrow. Because it's in those hidden places, in the tension of not knowing, that faith is refined. It's where our character is forged. It's where God proves that He is a new Faven when we are not. So today, if you're standing at the edge, wondering what comes next, take a breath. Not knowing is not the problem, not trusting is. Do you remember the story of Abraham? Imagine this. God tells you to leave your country, your family, your comfort zone, everything you've ever known, and step into a place you've never seen. No address, no map, no timeline. Just a direction. Go. That was Abraham's reality. The uncertainty must have echoed in his heart with every step he took. He wasn't given details. He wasn't handed a plan. But he had something far more powerful than certainty. He had trust. Abraham walked forward, not because he knew what the journey held, but because he knew the one who held the journey. And God did not disappoint. What began as a command to walk blindly into the unknown became a divine invitation into God's promise. The wilderness wasn't the end, it was the beginning. Every uncertain step Abraham took became a stepping stone to destiny. So today, I want to tell you, don't fear the uncertainty. Don't run from it. Embrace it. Because in that quiet space where you whisper, "I don't know," God is whispering back, "I do." And it's in those vulnerable, unclear moments that He often reveals Himself most powerfully. His presence meets you in the fog, and that presence can transform everything. You might be sitting here now, feeling like your life is one big puzzle alone with too many missing pieces. The image isn't clear, the path doesn't make sense, and it's hard not knowing how it all fits together. If God's timing felt slow in your life, remember He's not delaying to punish you, but to prepare you. And sometimes, that preparation comes through the very seasons we wish we could skip. Let's be honest, waiting is hard. We live in a world of instant updates, fast food, and overnight delivery. So when progress feels slow, when doors don't open immediately, or when prayers seem unanswered, we start getting restless. We rush ahead, trying to skip to the next chapter, the next breakthrough, the next success, the next big moment. But here's what we often forget. God is never in a hurry. His timing isn't chaotic. It's not reactive. It's precise, intentional, and deliberate. Every pause has a purpose. Every delay is infused with meaning. What we perceive as setbacks may actually be sacred setups, divine pauses preparing us for something far greater than we could ever plan ourselves. Take a look at the life of David. When God anointed David to be king, he didn't walk straight into the palace. He didn't sit on a throne the next day. Instead, his life took a dramatic turn, years spent running, hiding in caves, fighting battles, and being misunderstood. It looked nothing like royalty. But during that wilderness season, God was doing deep work. He wasn't just preparing David for a crown, he was shaping his character, stretching his faith, and building the resilience David would need to lead a nation. That season of waiting wasn't a punishment, it was preparation. So today, if you're in a holding pattern waiting for a breakthrough, a door to open, or a promise to unfold, remember this: God's delay is not a denial. It's a sign that something is happening beneath the surface. He's working behind the scenes, molding you, teaching you, and getting you ready for what's coming. You are exactly where you need to be right now. And when the time is right, His time, not yours. He will open the doors no one can shut. His timing is never off. It's never too early. It's never too late. It's always right on time. But here's where it gets even more personal. How many times have you found yourself praying with desperation, asking God for something specific, believing with all your heart that you know what you need? Maybe it's a new job, a restored relationship, financial provision, or healing from something deep and painful. You bring your request to God, hoping He'll deliver exactly what you asked. But what happens when He doesn't? When the answer is, not yet, or even no? It's here that many hearts grow weary. But the truth is, God knows your needs better than you do. He sees the full landscape of your life, the things you can't see yet. His wisdom reaches into dimensions we don't even understand. While we're focused on what we want, He's focused on what we truly need. Jesus reminded us of this in Scripture. He said that if we, flawed and limited as we are, know how to give good gifts to our children, how much more will our Heavenly Father give us what we truly need? That's the key. God gives us what we need, not always what we want. And yes, it's easy to desire things that seem good in the moment. Temporary relief, instant gratification, the quick win. But not everything that looks good is good for us. Some blessings are disguised in silence. Some growth is birthed through lack. Look at the Apostle Paul. He pleaded with God to remove what he described as a thorn in the flesh, a source of deep pain and discomfort. And what did God say? Not, I'll take it away, but my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12-9. In that moment, Paul realized something profound. What he thought was a need wasn't really what he needed most. What he needed was an encounter with God's strength in the middle of his weakness. And so do we. There will be moments in your life when you feel like your prayers are echoing into nothingness. You've poured your heart out. You've pleaded for breakthrough, for direction, for relief. And yet, heaven feels quiet. But here's the truth. God is not ignoring you. He's protecting you. Sometimes, the very things that seem withheld are not denials. They are divine shields. What you think you need right now may not be what serves your purpose long term. And God, in His infinite love and wisdom, always provides not just what we ask for, but what we actually need, in the right way, at the right time. He sees your life through an eternal lens. He knows what lies ahead, the doors, the battles, the blessings, and He aligns His provision perfectly with your calling. You can rest in this unshakable truth. God will provide what you need, exactly when you need it. But let's be honest, when you're in a season of uncertainty, when everything around you seems still, it can feel like you're stuck in place, forgotten. Even, you look around and wonder, why hasn't my breakthrough come? Why are things moving so slowly? But what if this isn't a pause? What if it's preparation? Because the waiting season you're in, it's not wasted. God never wastes a season. Every delay, every challenge, every closed door is part of His divine blueprint. What looks like silence is often sacred strategy. Every step, even the ones that feel like setbacks, are making room for something greater. Think of the Israelites. They wandered through the desert for 40 long years, not because God had abandoned them, but because He was preparing them. The Promised Land wasn't just about geography, it was about heart posture, faith, readiness. That wilderness experience, though exhausting, was the training ground that shaped their identity. It taught them dependence, it taught them worship, and it readied them for the blessing they were about to receive. The Promised Land was waiting, but they had to be ready for it. And so do you. Your blessing may be closer than you think, but God, in His mercy, won't release it until your heart is prepared to carry it. Because He's not just interested in giving you good things, He wants to shape you into the kind of person who can steward those blessings with wisdom, humility, and strength. Maybe, in this very moment, God is refining your patience. Maybe He's building your endurance. Maybe He's healing wounds you don't even realize are holding you back. Whatever it is, He's working, even when you can't feel it. Even when everything looks still. God is shaping your future, crafting it with careful hands, and when the time is right, He will pour out blessings so abundant they'll exceed your wildest dreams. But first, He prepares you. That's what love does. It gets you ready. So, don't despair in the waiting. Don't give up in the silence. Your breakthrough isn't on pause, it's on schedule. Keep trusting. Keep growing. Your preparation is positioning you for everything God has already seen and planned. And here's what makes all the difference. There is a quiet power that's released when we choose faith over fear. Fear paralyzes. It whispers lies. It tells you your story is stuck, that your purpose is void, that your future is slipping away. But faith? Faith speaks louder. It holds on. It presses through. It reminds you, God isn't finished with me yet. So many people get trapped in the false belief that their current struggle defines the rest of their lives. That what you're walking through now is as good as it gets. That the pain, the delay, the waiting, that's the end of your story. But let me say this as clearly as I can. Your present does not define your future. Just because today is hard doesn't mean tomorrow won't bloom. Just because this season is heavy doesn't mean the next won't overflow with joy. God is in the business of turning things around. He specializes in taking the most hopeless moments and breathing new life into them in ways you never saw coming. Think of Joseph. He didn't just have a bad day, he had a devastating journey. Betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into a prison cell for a crime he didn't commit. Everything about his life screamed injustice, abandonment, and failure. His present situation? It looked hopeless. But Joseph didn't allow his circumstances to define his destiny. He didn't resign himself to defeat. He trusted God. Even when life made no sense, even when it felt like every dream he once had was slipping through his fingers, Joseph held on. He believed that his current situation wasn't his final destination. And what happened? God took that very path of pain, the betrayal, the prison, the shame, and used it as a divine setup. Joseph went from chains to a crown, from the pit to the palace. And more than just elevating him personally, God used Joseph to save an entire nation. That's what our God does. Your present doesn't define your future, God does. So whatever you're walking through today, no matter how messy or uncertain, remember this: your story is still being written. The chapter you're in right now might be filled with tension or tears, but it's not the end. It's a setup. God is positioning you, shaping you, and preparing you for something far bigger than what you see. Your future? It's in God's hands, not in the hands of your mistakes, your enemies, or your fears. Your current struggle might be loud, but God's promises speak louder. Don't let where you are now convince you that it's where you'll always be. You are not stuck, you are being shaped. You are not forgotten. You are being formed for a purpose greater than you realize. This season is just a chapter in your life, not the whole book. So keep turning the page. Keep pressing forward. Because the best? It's still ahead. You see, your future is brighter than you think. Even if your present feels dim, even if the clouds haven't cleared, God is already working behind the scenes, opening doors, orchestrating people, aligning resources to bring you into a place of peace, purpose, and abundance. Don't let today's struggles convince you that you're stuck. Don't believe the lie that your best days are behind you. With God, your future is limitless. Now, here's something we often forget in a world that idolizes speed and shortcuts. Perseverance matters. We're told to chase instant results, to find quick fixes. But God is looking for those who won't just start strong, but who finish faithfully. Perseverance is often hidden, uncelebrated, overlooked, but it's the key to unlocking what God has next for you. It's easy to feel passionate and full of faith when everything's going right. It's easy to sing when the path is clear. But real growth, true spiritual maturity comes when you keep showing up even when you feel unseen. When you keep pressing forward, even when nothing seems to be changing. Because God isn't only focused on your destination, He deeply cares about your journey. Every quiet step of obedience, every tear no one else sees, every moment you choose to keep going when quitting would be easier it. all matters to him. Perseverance isn't just enduring the hard times. It's allowing God to refine you in them, to mold you, shape you, stretch you, so when you finally walk into the fulfillment of His promise, you're ready not just to receive it, but to carry it well. Let's take a moment to reflect on the story of the Apostle Paul. His journey wasn't one of ease or comfort. It wasn't lined with applause or convenience. No, Paul's path was marked by hardship. He was shipwrecked, imprisoned, beaten, and mocked. He knew what it meant to suffer for the sake of calling, but through all the storms, all the setbacks, he kept going. Why? Because he knew something deeper. He knew that even in the hardest moments, when the pain was deep, when the outcome was unclear, God was at work, not just around him, but within him. And because Paul refused to quit, because he kept persevering, God used his life to shape the course of history. The letters Paul wrote behind prison walls now form the very core of our faith. The encouragement we read in Scripture today, the wisdom, the revelations, all of it exists because one man didn't give up halfway through his storm. That's the power of perseverance. Perseverance means you keep pressing on even when the road feels impossible. It means you stay the course even when the promises seem distant, even when your prayers are met with silence, even when your soul is tired. It's trusting that the author of your story hasn't stopped writing. It's believing that the same God who began a good work in you is still working, still shaping, still preparing even when you can't see it yet. So when you feel like giving up, don't. When the weight of the journey feels unbearable, remember, your perseverance will bear fruit. You may not see it now, but the seeds you're planting in faith today will bloom in due time. God is moving even in the stillness. He's positioning you step by step for the future He has promised. Keep going, keep trusting, because the reward for perseverance is always greater than the pain of the process. And let me assure you, God honors those who don't give up. Now here's where it gets even more real. We live in a world that constantly tells us to take control, plan everything, manage every detail, hold the reins tight. We're conditioned to believe that if we can just control enough variables, we can steer life exactly where we want it to go. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Real peace doesn't come from control. It comes from surrender. You were never created to carry the weight of life on your shoulders. That burden, it's too heavy. It drains you. It crushes you. And eventually, it leads not to freedom, but to frustration. We think we're in control, but the reality is we're not. Life happens. Plans change. Doors close. People walk away. And if your peace depends on having everything figured out, you'll always live on edge. Let's go back to the example of Abraham. God called him to leave everything he knew as land, his family, his security, and walk into the unknown. No roadmap, no timeline, no guarantees, just a voice and a promise. Abraham didn't cling to control, he let go. And in doing so, he stepped into the greatest blessings of his life. That's the power of trust. When you surrender control, you create space for God's perfect will. You release your grip, and in return, He places peace in your hands. Not the kind of peace that comes from knowing the plan, but the kind that comes from knowing the one who does. Control is a false comfort. It makes us feel safe, but only for a moment. God's security? It's deeper. It's unshakable. It's eternal. He holds your future. He holds your path. He holds your destiny. And when you let go and you truly surrender, you'll find He was holding you all along. When you finally let go of control and put your trust in Him, you're saying something powerful. God, I believe You know what's best for me even when I can't see it. That single act of surrender shifts everything. It's not just about giving up your plans, it's about laying down your fears, your worries, your expectations, and saying, God, You lead, I'll follow. So today, I invite you release the need to control. Let go of the weight that's been wearing you down because, friend, that burden was never yours to carry. Lay down your anxious thoughts, surrender your timelines, and watch how God begins to move in your life in ways you never saw coming. He already has it all under control. Your job? Follow His lead. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself dreaming big? Envisioning a beautiful future? Imagining what life could look like if everything went right? Maybe you've seen glimpses of purpose, flashes of calling, pictures in your mind of something more. And yet, despite all our dreaming, God's plans are always greater. Sometimes we become so consumed with our own vision that we forget how wide and wild God's vision is for us. The truth is, our dreams are shaped by our past, our pain, our limited perspective. But God sees the entire canvas. He knows what you need. He knows what you can handle. And He knows how your life can bring the greatest glory to His name. What feels impossible to you isn't even difficult for Him. He can do in one divine moment what would take us a lifetime of striving. Just think about Joseph again. As a young boy, he had big dreams. He saw his family bowing before him. But as grand as those dreams seemed, God's purpose was far bigger. What Joseph couldn't see then was that God was positioning him not for personal glory, but to save an entire nation. Every step of betrayal, slavery, imprisonment meant it wasn't the end. It was preparation. Joseph's childhood dreams were only the first whispers of God's master plan. And the same is true for you. Your dreams may feel big to you right now, but God's dreams for you, they're immeasurably greater. He has a plan so full of purpose, so rich in meaning, that your current imagination can't even contain it. As it says in Ephesians 3:20, "Now to Him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us." Let that sink in. If you could see even a glimpse of the future God is already preparing for you, it would overwhelm you in the best possible way. You might not understand it yet, but He is taking you to places you never dared to dream. Places that will draw you closer to Him. Places that will fulfill His purpose in you and through you. So when you find yourself dreaming big, remember this: God is dreaming even bigger. His plans go beyond anything you could ask, imagine, or build with your own hands. So trust Him. Let go of your agenda. Lay your dreams at His feet, because the best is not behind you, it's still ahead. But maybe you're thinking, what if I'm walking into the unknown? What if I feel alone? And that brings us to something most of us fear even more than failure. The fear of being alone, especially when you're in transition. Especially when you're in unfamiliar territory, navigating seasons of uncertainty, not knowing where to go or who to lean on. It's easy to feel abandoned, forgotten, isolated. But listen carefully. You are never alone in the unknown. God's promise is not vague or symbolic, it's personal and powerful. In His word, He declares clearly, "I will never leave you nor forsake you." That's not a casual reassurance. That's an eternal covenant. What does that mean for you today? It means that in every confusing moment, in every season of waiting, and in every uncertain step you take toward what's next, you are not alone. Not for a second. Not ever. God is with you, right now, and in every step yet to come. Think about Moses. When God called him to lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt, Moses didn't respond with confidence. He wasn't fearless. He was overwhelmed, full of doubt, insecurity, and fear. He questioned his calling, his ability, even his worth. But God didn't leave him to figure it out alone. He didn't say, "You'll be fine, good luck." No, God said, "I will be with you." Exodus 3:12. And He was. Through the wilderness, through Pharaoh's resistance, through the Red Sea and into the journey toward the Promised Land, God was there. Guiding, providing, strengthening. Never once did He abandon Moses. And just as He was with Moses, He is with you. When life gets complicated, when you're facing emotional or spiritual wilderness, when the next step seems too risky or unclear to believe the lie that God has left you behind. He's right there, surrounding you with love, covering you in strength, walking with you, step by step, into your future. And here's the most reassuring part. God knows exactly what's next for you. Not only is He beside you, He's already ahead of you, preparing the way. And He will equip you with everything you need to walk in the path He's set before you. So when the loneliness creeps in, when fear whispers that you're on your own, when your soul feels unsteady, remember this: you are never walking alone. You have a mighty God beside you, a shepherd, a father, a friend. He won't abandon you. He won't fail you. So trust His presence. Rest in that truth. Lean into the peace that comes from knowing He's already gone before you. And when life gets uncertain, as it often does when the fog rolls in and you're unsure what's next, it's easy to feel like your hope is slipping away. But this is where hope becomes your anchor. Hope is not a vague feeling. It's not a nice idea. Hope is the anchor of your soul. It's what keeps you steady when the storms rage. And the greatest hope you can ever cling to comes from God's promises. Unlike circumstances, God's promises don't shift with seasons. They aren't fragile. They don't break under pressure. They are eternal, unchanging, reliable. So when you root your hope in what God has said, what He has spoken over your life, you are not tethered to emotions or situations. You're anchored to truth, to His truth. And Scripture gives us story after story of how God's promises came to life even when it seemed impossible. Abraham and Sarah waiting decades for a child. Noah building an ark for a flood no one had ever seen. David anointed as king, but still tending sheep and fleeing for his life. They all faced moments of uncertainty. They all had reasons to doubt, but they held on to the promise. And God did exactly what He said He would do. Think of the Israelites, enslaved in Egypt, oppressed, forgotten, or so it seemed. Their current situation looked hopeless, but God had promised, "I will deliver you." And He did. He parted the Red Sea. He guided them through the wilderness. He led them to the very land He had promised generations before. The power of that story? God's promise was stronger than their present reality. Today, you might feel like you're standing in the middle of a foggy road, straining to see even one step ahead. Maybe you're waiting for a door to open, for clarity to come, for something to finally shift. It's a season that can feel quiet, even still. But silence is not absence. Stillness is not abandonment. God's promises still stand. He has never broken a word. He's spoken. He has promised to never leave you, to guide you through the unknown, to provide for your every need, and to give you a future filled with hope, even when everything around you seems to say otherwise. So, whatever weight you're carrying today, let hope rise. And I'm not talking about wishful thinking or empty optimism. I mean true hope, the kind that rests not in what you can control, but in what God has already spoken over your life. Because when God speaks, He acts. When He promises, He delivers. You may not know how or when, but you can stand firm in this. He knows what's next for you, and He is faithful to bring it to pass. Your future is not floating in uncertainty. It is anchored secure in His hands. Let that anchor hold. Now, take a moment. Just pause. Where are you right now? Not physically, but deep in your soul. Are you feeling lost? Caught between choices? Worn down from waiting? It's okay. Really, it's okay if you don't have all the answers right now, because you have something far more powerful than answers. You have a God who sees the end from the beginning. A God whose plans are better than anything you could design for yourself. A God who walks beside you in every step and prepares the path before you even take it. When life feels shaky, when the way ahead is hidden, remember this: God is still working. Behind the scenes, within your heart, around your life. You are not lost. You are not overlooked. And you are not walking through the unknown alone. Every challenge, every delay, every stretch of silence, it's not punishment. It's preparation. God is refining you, building strength in your faith, and positioning you for a blessing that is greater than what you can see today. So let go of the fear, release the doubt, and hold tight to His promises. Because you're on a journey, a sacred one. And even if you can't see every turn or every mile ahead, God does. And what He's written for your future is so much bigger, so much richer, so much brighter than anything you could ever imagine. Keep walking. Keep trusting. Even when the road is dim, walk in faith, because the one who knows what's next is already leading the way. His plans for your life are filled with purpose. They're saturated with peace. And they are leading you to a future that shines brighter than you dare to dream. In closing, no matter where life has placed you today, your tomorrow is already in God's hands. He knows what's next for you. And when you place your trust fully in Him, He will take you places you never thought possible. So hold on to your faith, cling to hope, and rest in this truth. Your future is secure in the hands of the one who created it.